Today's video is brought to you by nordvpn.org/chamber. Now that we're basically online 24/7, either through computers, tablets, smartphones, whatever, it's important to make sure you're secure online, and a VPN provides double data encrypted protection by bouncing you through a virtual network. And NordVPN have thousands of servers all over the world, so you can always connect super fast, however and wherever you use the internet. If you want to subscribe to services in other countries, you can. If you want to sidestep localized internet problems like Article 13 or the Great Wall of China, you can do that too. You can expand your opportunities while increasing your security. By sponsoring this video, NordVPN are offering you 70% off a 3-year plan and banging on an extra month completely free by clicking nordvpn.org/chamber in the description below and using the coupon code CHAMBER. Now on to the video. F1 cars are powered by petrol and electricity, which both come from a form of stored chemical energy. But where does this energy come from and how does it power the car? I mean, where does it really come from? This is part 1 in maybe 2 parts on F1 power, the fuel story. Okay, so it's an F1 race. The driver puts their foot down on the accelerator and petrol squirts out into a cylinder which is ignited by a spark which causes it to burst into flames and drives a piston which turns a crankshaft that powers a mechanical process that ends up turning the wheels really fast. But let's go back a few steps. Let's go back a few 100 million years. I was but a lad at this time, and though mobile phones were not yet invented, the sun was still shining. How does the sun shine, I hear you ask? Well, inside the sun is a soup of hydrogen atoms all whizzing about with very high energy. Occasionally the hydrogen atoms bump into each other, which starts a chain reaction that leads to the formation of helium. When helium is formed, there's actually a little bit of mass left over, and this is blasted out as light energy. I'm not going to get into the details of stellar physics here, but I can't stress how slow this process is. It takes ages for fusion to happen to any individual atom in the sun. It's just that there are so many atoms inside the sun that it happens all the time on the whole. Anyway, this light energy shoots through space and reaches Earth after about 8 minutes. Plant life uses this sunlight directly to make its own food. Now, you may have heard petrol or gasoline comes from dinosaurs, but I'm going to disappoint you now. It actually comes from microbiological plants and creatures in the sea. Algae and plankton, that kind of thing. These tiny little organisms photosynthesize. That is, they take the light and they use it to make fuel. They use the energy from the light to do a little bit of a chemical reaction by combining carbon dioxide with water to make sugar, with a bit of oxygen left over. Now, sugar is a carbohydrate because it has carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen in it. Delicious. Anyway, these sugars are stored in the algae and plankton and stuff, and when those organisms die, they sink and perhaps, if you're lucky, land in the right mix of clay, and under just the right circumstances, over a lot of time, dead organisms will be buried and become subject to the right amount of heat and pressure to break down into oils and gases. A lot of time has passed by this point. The dinosaurs are long dead and humans are wearing hats now. It's a whole new world. Now, this crude oil is a mixture of many different types of oils, or hydrocarbons. See how carbohydrates became hydrocarbons in this process? It all makes sense. Anyway, what we do is we whack all this in a fancy kettle to separate out all the different types of oil, and we take the petrol part and we bang it in an F1 car. The petrol, or gasoline if you're American, and I'm not going to say gas because that's very confusing in this case, it chemically hangs on to all the energy that originally came out of the fusion reaction in the sun. That sunlight energy was used to build the carbohydrates that became the hydrocarbons. And then what we do in the engine is we take those hydrocarbons, we add a bit of oxygen from the air, add some heat, and boom, a violent chemical reaction occurs with water, carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide forming from the constituent atoms, and a burst of energy from the stuff left over. It's this energy that heats the air in the cylinder that expands and pushes the piston that turns the engine that drives the wheel. All from little hydrogen lads whizzing around the sun. But F1 cars are hybrids and have batteries in them that store energy chemically and deploy it electrically into the drivetrain. But this energy comes from the kinetic energy of the car itself, so this battery too is powered by petrol that comes from the ancient plankton that once gazed at the sun. Now, knowing that oil can't last forever, seeing as we're blasting through it quicker than those overworked algae boys can produce, there will come a time when F1 can't use petrol as its primary source of fuel. What it might use is, not for this video, but to understand the shift, we need to go back to the sun. I mean, not literally, I do not endorse going to the sun. You will not have a good time. As you may have noticed from your horrendous tan lines, Karen, not all sunlight lands on algae and plankton. A lot of it lands on trees and other plants. And together, this plant life makes carbohydrates and stores them, dies, gets crushed under layers and layers of earth over millions of years. And this process can create oils, gases, and coals, which we use in generators or power stations to power electrical grids. The same process applies here as in the combustion engine. Burn the hydrocarbons, you make heat, and you use it to make things rotate fast. Pretty classic. The sunlight also reaches the Earth in other ways. It can heat up the Earth to create winds and weather, which can turn wind turbines. It can be captured directly in solar panels. We can even use the waste material from an even older star, heavy metals like uranium that were formed in the sun's parent, to do a little bit of nuclear fission and add that to the mix. All this can power electrical grids and massive generation, which we can use to pump energy into storage like batteries and use those batteries to power cars. Or we can use it to produce hydrogen fuel cells, which are basically another type of battery. So yeah, if you put energy into stores like batteries, obviously it's pretty much all coming from the grid, which has these massive gas and coal power stations attached to them. So you could be like, well, this solves nothing because we're still burning hydrocarbons somewhere else. But if you make all the cars battery or cell powered or whatever kind of energy storage you've already got the infrastructure there to swap out the oily beasts for whatever you want. More solar, more wind, better mega storage, stick it all on the grid, and then we'll have it covered. The cars won't care how you generate energy at this end, they just want the energy storage at this end. So it's possible to move into a car era without the cars burning fuel themselves. How that will look is a question for another time. I'm not saying it's easy or anything, nothing's easy. And the downside, of course, is your cars might make more of a whooshy noise than a growly engine noise, and that's a whole other kettle of fish.